What? A new Annihilator album released? Kids, drop all your Legos and let's listen to some Annihilator now. Jeff, I'm not mad, but very disappointed. 23 years of Jeff Waters and his thrashing band Annihilator, and there is still no sign of slowing down at all, having another album released 2 years right after 2015's Suicidal Society. I almost remember it like yesterday, that I discovered this band through SoundCloud, oddly enough. Yeah, SoundCloud! You heard correct, that one music app literally nobody uses for listening to music. Anyways, there I listened to albums such as Never Neverland and Alice in Hell, which is still regarded as one of the best debut albums by a thrash band ever. Due to their late coming in the thrash scene, changes had to be made after the second album to fit more to the sound of the 90s compared to the more rough-edged sound of the 80s that the first two albums had. But since the late 90s, they started to go back more and more to the traditional sound, rather than the more heavy metal sound they used to develop throughout the 90s catalogs. With this new album, called For the Demented, Jeff Waters claimed that he went back to the first 8 years of Annihilator's career, which would logically mean that this new album should sound something like a mixture of the first two albums. It ain't sounding like Alice in Hell to me, Jeff. In fact, this album is anything but not Alice in Hell. It sounds more like a dry version of Never Neverland or a Jeff watered down attempt at recreating the album Set the World on Fire. And although the last album ripped off a lot from bands such as Rammstein and Metallica, I still dug the content of Suicide Society a lot because it had a lot of original ideas. This album, on the other hand, let's say it strictly came out from Jeff Waters' own little riff factory. And by riff factory, I mean that he pulled a total Nickelback on us. Seriously, instead of borrowing riffs from other bands, he straight out ripped songs out of Never Neverland and Set the World on Fire, and somehow these rip-offs of his own songs sound boring. I will give credit though where credit is due. And that would be that the production of this album is as smooth as it always has been with an Annihilator album. Like Jeff Waters always knows exactly how to produce his records well. Well, apart from this one time, for the very first time ever since Never Neverland, Jeff wasn't producing this album on his own, as Annihilator's current bassist Rich Hinks joined Jeff during production of this album. And it sounds pretty good. But sadly, there are many other flaws which make this album kinda boring to listen to. I'll admit that the opener, Twisted Lobotomy, kicks major ass, but after that song things start to go down the snooze mode. Want to Kill, For the Demented, Pieces of You, The Demon You Know, and Phantom Asylum. It only really starts picking up some tension with the last 4 songs tuning in. Want to Kill and For the Demented are your fairly standard thrash metal songs. These two songs especially are corny as Annihilator can get sometimes. These songs aren't terribly written or anything, but just really damn mediocre. Don't get me wrong, Annihilator has always been very corny with their stuff since their debut album, but sometimes the corniest stuff can not only go to the tip of the iceberg, in fact it often enough goes over the whole goddamn iceberg to begin with. And while this album isn't as extreme with its lyrics, like Chicken and Corn, but it's pretty damn close with songs such as Pieces of You, with lyrics such as I go to the kitchen, get something to eat, you lie on the table, torn limb from limb, your head on the counter, my sweet little Kim. This song isn't particularly terrible, but just very bland and one-dimensional. But then there comes The Devil in... The Demon You Know, which is just a rip-off of Night Jump's Queen, from start to finish. Like seriously, did Jeff even knew he wrote Night Jump's Queen before? It's like he totally forgot that the song even existed. But everything seems to change when the song Altering the Altar starts. This song kicks assholes. This song to me is what Annihilator is about. Sinister lyrics, slightly corny, badass riffage, strong melodies and a present bass line. This song also experiments a little with ambient sound effects, and it doesn't come out as forced or anything. It actually fits perfectly right with this song, and another song which does this right too is Not All There, which is the last song of this record. It plays very much like Altering the Altar. It has strong melodies, it also adds something own unique on the table, like a red hot chili pepperish section. It kinda reminds me like that one time when Jeff Waters, for whatever reason, decided to experiment with the bass a little bit in a song from the album The Feast, which one song started exactly like a red hot chili pepper song. Overall, it's not the worst ever effort. It's actually far from bad. The main problem with this album is just that it's incredibly boring to listen to. Like, it's not hard to listen to, it's just very boring. It's accessible, but boring. With the first half having so many predictable thrash metal pieces, and even a damn rip-off of one of their own songs, aka Nickelback style. Sadly enough, not even the last 4 songs in the album can help it from being boring. I strongly believe that Annihilator works out the best when they experiment a lot, rather than creating generic Slayer pieces. Because, let's be honest, most thrash metal bands nowadays try to hop on the Slayer bandwagon, which I don't get. After Suicide Society, I was looking more forward for what's to come next, never really expecting a new album to drop so quickly and to be so boring as well. It feels very rushed. I was expecting some more experimental stuff, you know. It was another self-titled album. And no, I don't mean this self-titled album, I mean this one. Boring, cliché, Slayerish, and with only a few creative songs in it. After all, I give this album a 6.5 out of 10. The production is very good, and some songs, especially the last few pieces in this album, stick out the most here. And Jeff's voice works out perfectly on this album. But unfortunately, it loses many points due to having many pretentious songs and a straight out rip-off from one of their own albums. But still, I'm looking very forward to the direction this band will go after this album. I'm hoping to see more albums by them. More experimenting rather than slayering, let's say it like that. Anyways, thanks for watching my video, and I hope you had fun watching this video, my boys. And if you have any records you want me to review, just suggest it under the comment section below, or visit my Twitter page. I was your host, Toxik-Vermin, and I see ya in my next video. Goodbye, guys.